A desperate howl cuts through the frozen night, shattering the silence of a barren winter landscape. At the doorstep of an old, secluded cabin, a lone wolf stands trembling in the icy air. Its eyes are wide with urgent appeal, its posture pleading, a silent call for help that seems almost impossible. The wolf's presence is a stark reminder that even in the harshest conditions, nature can show compassion and vulnerability. In that brief, haunting moment, a mystery unfolds. A creature of the wild, burdened by both the cruelty of winter and a deep, unspoken need, reaches out in hope of salvation. This unexpected encounter challenges the boundaries between man and beast, stirring emotions that are both raw and powerful. As the wind whistles past and snowflakes cling to the dark wood of the cabin, the animal's desperate plea becomes the spark that ignites a chain of events neither man nor nature could have foreseen. What awaits behind that weathered door is a secret that could change everything. This marks merely the start of a journey filled with wonder and danger. In the heart of a harsh winter, the old cabin sat quietly, hidden among towering pines and blanketed in fresh snow. Its wooden walls, worn and weathered over the years, held memories of a life spent in nature's embrace. This cabin was a retreat of a retired wildlife photographer who once chased the wonders of the wild. Now, he sought only peace and solitude amid the frozen landscape. One bitter evening, as the wind whispered secrets through the trees and snowflakes danced slowly to the ground, the man settled by the crackling fireplace. The room, dimly lit by the warm glow of the fire, felt safe and familiar. Outside, however, the world was a different story, one of biting cold and mysterious sounds. It was then that a soft, yet insistent sound reached his ears, a series of taps at the heavy wooden door. At first, he thought it might be the wind, playing tricks on him. But as the sound grew clearer, his heart began to race with a mix of curiosity and caution. He wrapped himself in a thick coat and stepped outside, his breath forming little clouds in the icy air. Standing in the doorway was a sight he had never imagined. A large wolf, its fur frosted with ice and eyes shining with an unspoken plea. The creature's behavior was unlike any animal he had ever seen. Rather than growling or retreating, the wolf stood firm, almost as if it was asking for help. The wolf's posture was desperate. Its head was bowed slightly, and its eyes met his with a look that seemed to say, "I need you." There was an odd mix of fear and determination in those eyes, a look that cut through the usual wild instincts. The man's mind raced. He had seen many wild creatures, but this one appeared almost human in its urgency. As he hesitated on the porch, the wolf took a cautious step forward. Its paws, heavy with the burden of countless winter storms, left clear prints in the thick snow. The silence of the night was broken only by the soft sound of the animal's breath and the rustle of the wind through the trees. Every detail of the scene was sharp and real, a moment frozen in time much like the very air around them. For a heartbeat, the man and the wolf stood locked in a silent conversation. There was trust in the animal's eyes, an invitation to cross the threshold between wild and human. It was as if the wolf carried the weight of a secret, urging him to step beyond the safe confines of his isolated world. If you find this unexpected encounter as intriguing as we do, our journey into nature's hidden mysteries is just beginning. Reluctantly, the man opened the cabin door wider, letting in the chill of the night along with the wolf. In that moment, the boundary between his quiet life and the wild unknown began to blur. The wolf's presence was both a call to action and a promise of the extraordinary. What had drawn it here? And what secret did its eyes hold? As the man invited the creature inside, the wind's howl seemed to carry the answer, a mystery waiting to unfold in the deep winter night. Inside the cabin, the warmth of the fire did little to calm the man's racing heart. The wolf, still at the threshold, cast a glance back as if urging him to follow. Without a word, it padded silently toward the door and then turned, its eyes fixed on something outside. The man, driven by equal parts worry and curiosity, slipped on his heavy boots and stepped into the storm. The wind roared immediately, carrying swirling snowflakes that blurred the world into a frosty haze. The wolf led him away from the shelter of the cabin, moving with a steady purpose. Each step it took left deep, fresh prints in the powdery snow, a clear sign that it had been here before and knew a safe path through the swirling chaos. Following the creature, the man's feet sank into the cold, unyielding snow. The air was biting, and every gust of wind felt like a warning. Yet the wolf moved with an assurance that spoke of survival. It paused now and then, glancing back as if to check that the man was still following. There was no time for hesitation. The wild call of the storm and the animal's determined pace compelled him onward. As they ventured further, the intensity of the blizzard grew. Visibility dropped, and the sound of the wind became nearly deafening. The wolf abruptly stopped at a bend in the path, its ears pricked and body tense. In the distance, barely visible through the snow and swirling wind, a faint outline of a structure emerged. It was a dilapidated barn, half buried under layers of ice and snow, standing in stark contrast to the natural wilderness around it. The man's heart pounded. The sight of the barn stirred a mix of dread and curiosity deep within him. The wolf, as if sensing his hesitation, nudged him gently with its muzzle. Its eyes seemed to say, "This is where I need you." With little choice but to follow, the man trudged forward, each step filled with trepidation. Reaching the barn's entrance, he pushed open a creaking door that groaned in protest. Inside, the darkness was punctuated by a soft, eerie glow that emanated from a far corner. The air inside was stale and heavy with secrets. The wolf slipped in silently behind him, its presence a constant reassurance in the oppressive gloom. In the barn's shadowy interior, the man noticed strange markings on the wall, hastily scratched words that hinted at a long-forgotten warning. The message spoke of a hidden threat, a danger that had once terrorized these lands and might now be stirring again. Each word deepened the man's unease, and the silence of the barn seemed to whisper of past horrors. Just then, a creak echoed from the far side of the barn, a sound that shattered the stillness and sent shivers down his spine. The wolf's hackles rose as it let out a low, warning growl. The man's pulse quickened. It was clear that this was no empty relic of the past. Something was very wrong here, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its moment. The unthinkable request had led him into a nightmare hidden behind frozen walls and ancient secrets. With the warning message burning in his mind and the steadfast wolf by his side, the man stepped deeper into the barn's dark heart, uncertain of what threat might be waiting in the next shadow. In the dark silence of the barn, the man paused as a faint sound of whimpers reached his ears. The wolf's eyes held a silent plea, and the message was clear. There was more at risk than just one animal. The creature was not alone in its suffering. Somewhere deep within, a family of wolves was in danger. Following the wolf's steady lead, the man moved further into the barn. Each creak of the old wooden floor added to the tension as they navigated through narrow corridors cluttered with forgotten tools and relics of a bygone era. The sound grew louder, a mix of soft whimpers and rustling, sending a chill down his spine. It was the unmistakable sound of young lives in distress. At the end of a narrow passage, they discovered a small, locked room. Inside, a litter of young wolves huddled together, their eyes wide with fear, their small bodies shivering in the cold. Their soft cries echoed in the dim light, each sound a plea for help. The sight struck the man deeply. It was clear that these pups had been trapped for far too long, left to face a harsh world without protection. The door to the room was heavy, secured by an old, rusted lock. It was a cruel barrier designed to keep them hidden and confined. Time was of the essence. The man knew that if he did not act swiftly, the hidden threat lurking outside might close in on these innocent lives. Scanning the room, the man spotted a worn crowbar among nearby debris. The wolf stayed close, its eyes locked on him as if offering silent support. Together, they began their work. With each forceful thrust, the crowbar pried at the lock in the door. The wood protested with creaks and groans, but slowly it began to give way. As the gap widened, the young wolves stirred, their frightened eyes watching every move. For a moment, the man hesitated, weighing the risk of drawing unwanted attention. The heavy ethical burden of the moment pressed on him. Should he risk alerting the hidden threat, or leave the pups trapped in suffering? His heart chose action. These young lives could not be left behind. With renewed resolve, he pushed harder. Finally, the lock snapped, and the door swung open with a resounding crack. A blast of cold air rushed in, and with it came the promise of freedom. The pups scrambled out of their confinement, their legs unsteady as they stepped into a space filled with both danger and hope. The wolf, their silent guardian, watched with an expression of quiet relief. But just as the man began to guide the pups away from the room, a deep, resonant rumble shook the barn. Heavy footsteps echoed in the distance, a grim reminder that the hidden threat was drawing near. The man and the wolf exchanged a look that said everything without words. Time was running short. The rescue was only half complete, and now they face a new, pressing danger. In that tense moment, a bond had formed between the man and the wolf, a shared determination to protect the innocent and confront the looming menace. The man's heart pounded, not only with fear but with the fierce will to see this rescue through. This was no longer just an act of mercy. It was a stand for life, for loyalty, and for the fragile connection between man and beast. Together, they prepared to step out of the barn, ready to face whatever threat waited beyond its walls. The rescue was in full swing, and every heartbeat brought them closer to the unknown danger lurking in the winter night. Stepping out into the raging storm, the man clutched the rescued pups close while the loyal wolf led the way through the swirling snow. The cold night wrapped around them like a shroud, and as they moved away from the barn, something unexpected emerged from the darkness. A figure appeared at first as a mere silhouette against the blinding white, but as the distance closed, it resolved into a young woman. Her face was partly hidden beneath a thick hood, and her eyes burned with worry and fierce determination. Clutched in her hand was a tattered scrap of fabric, its pattern uncannily similar to the markings scrawled on the barn's walls. The sudden arrival of this stranger sent a jolt of unease through the man, yet there was something about her presence that felt necessary. The wolf stepped forward, low and protective, its gaze fixed on the newcomer. With measured caution, the woman spoke, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. "I've been following these signs for months. I know what's coming." Her words carried a weight that matched the severity of the night. The man's heart pounded, torn between fear of the unknown and hope that she might hold answers to the mystery that had appended his quiet life. As the woman explained, the storm seemed to momentarily ease, as if the very elements were listening. She told a tale of a growing menace, a force that had once wrought havoc among the wild and was now stirring in the deep shadows of the land. The warning on the barn wasn't just a relic of the past. It was a desperate call for help, left behind by someone who had witnessed the terror firsthand. With each word, the connection between the man, the wolf, and the woman deepened. It turned out that the wolf was more than a desperate animal. It was a guardian, chosen by circumstances beyond human understanding to protect something precious. The woman revealed that her own path had been intertwined with the fate of these creatures and the looming threat they all faced. The man felt an unexpected surge of unity, as if his isolated life had been leading him to this very moment. A call to stand against a danger that could upset the natural balance. But even as they began to forge a fragile alliance, a new chill ran down the man's spine. At the very edge of their small circle, a dark shape shifted in the storm's gloom. It was a fleeting, almost ghostly presence, yet it radiated a palpable menace. This shadow, silent and watchful, was a stark reminder that the threat they had been warned about was already near. In that charged moment, the unexpected bond among the trio solidified. The rescued pups, now free, huddled close with trusting eyes. The wolf's stance grew even more resolute, as if affirming its duty to guard this newfound alliance. The woman's expression hardened with resolve, and the man realized that his life had taken a turn from mere survival to a stand for something much larger. Together, they stood under the relentless snowfall, united by necessity and a shared determination to confront the looming danger. The twist was undeniable. Even as they embraced a bond forged in desperation and hope, the menace lurking in the shadows was ready to strike. Their unity was both a strength and a challenge, a promise to face the unknown with courage, even as the storm masked the true extent of the threat. With the woman now part of their team, and the wolf ever vigilant, the man took a deep breath. The night was far from over, and the journey ahead was steeped in uncertainty. Each step forward was a pledge to confront the darkness head-on, together. Under a storm-darkened sky, the night held its breath as a new terror began to stir. The trio, the man, the woman, and the loyal wolf, stood in a clearing surrounded by swirling snow. Suddenly, the earth trembled under their feet as distant howls grew louder, more insistent. From the shadows, a pack of wolves emerged, their eyes shining with an otherworldly glow. Their arrival was not random. It was a summons to face a deeper mystery. The lead wolf in the pack paused, its gaze locking with the man's, and in that moment, a silent message passed between them. The chill in the air grew sharper as the pack formed a tight circle, their presence a harbinger of impending danger. Without warning, the pack's alpha barked once, a sound that resonated like a warning bell. The message was clear. The wolves returned, but this time they brought something terrifying. In that abrupt moment, the familiar world shattered, leaving only uncertainty and the promise of a peril yet to come. Every heartbeat pulsed with dread, setting the stage for the unknown.